Man, we all know what this is gonna be about. Arlong does not look good. Like, oh my god, I wasn't going to watch it, but I thought the first trailer it looked okay. I wasn't the best the biggest fan of like Buggy, but Luffy's like arm stretching scene was also kind of off-putting, but Zoro scene excellent. Sanji scene excellent. I can understand why they took Usopp's nose away. That's fully understandable. That's fine. Nami looks excellent. People have been complaining about her like wig, hair mainly. I don't know if it's a wig, but I've heard people say it is a wig and it looks bad, but overall it's fine. My issue is Arlong. Currently my issue is with Arlong, and oh my god, does he look bad? We're gonna see what he has to say.
Alright, the full trailer for live action One Piece was amazing in my opinion, but there are concerns. I've read, I think, over 2,000 comments now, and it essentially boils down to the following. The main enduring criticism of the trailer, which I do agree with, is Arlong. So funny thing, I've watched a lot of people react to the trailer now, and every time we get to Arlong, it goes from, yeah, to, oh. Okay. And unlike the last trailer where things I didn't like at first did grow on me with subsequent viewings, every time I watch this trailer, I feel less and less confident about Arlong. And it's got nothing to do with the face. I actually quite like the face. I've heard a few people disliking it because of stuff like how you can clearly see his human nose below the fishman nose, but the face is fine. My problem is that the actor's body and the costume do not support the fantastic work that's being done on the face.
And it's so
He's just so thin and...
Look, the whole setting is dark. Like, it's cast in a shadow. And where... Oh, it's his sword. Like, for whatever reason, my brain didn't pick up that it is his sword. I thought that was part of the doorway and was like, super creepy-ass doorway. I do not like how they made Arlong look. As a whole. I don't care about the actor. I mean, the best actor probably would have been like The Rock, but then everything would be about The Rock instead of like One Piece. And like Luffy and the crew, it would be like The Rock beating up like everybody else, or sorry, Arlong beating up everybody else, and that's where the One Piece like live action ends. So, I mean, just don't like his design. Like, I can't get over it. I really can't.
And kind of scrawny looking. And I'm sure the actor himself is a pretty built dude. But all of the work on the face, the hat, and the hair make this Arlong look like he has a chibi body. I mean, I look at this picture of him and I'm like, not only could Luffy beat you with ease, but I reckon Nami could probably take you as well. And I've already seen some fan edits online that I think display the size issue with Arlong quite well, because in both versions the face looks amazing. But when he's a much bigger boy, he wears that face so much better. Whereas the live action kind of makes it look like a flashback to Arlong's high school years. You know, sort of my racism.
That is very fair.
He's just reached puberty and he's always angry, so angry and wanting to rebel against the world. Or also kind of like the middle stage of a Pokemon evolution line. Like he is a really good Charmeleon, but he's not quite hitting that Charizard. Or I guess Wartortle and Blastoise are probably a more fitting example. And I'm sure you've probably heard the joke by now, but a lot of people have started calling him R-Short, which I could find pretty funny. Here's the thing though, it's not just about the body, it's not that superficial. There's something even more fundamentally wrong with Arlong that I see in this trailer. And it's because, as I mentioned before, he's just so damn angry. Arlong is scary in the manga because he is intimidating and he knows it. As a result, he is emotionally in control, and up until the fight at Arlong Park, he's pretty much always smiling like a very twisted joy boy, because he's confident that he is the superior being. There's no need for him to get angry.
I would say he gave me more like the Joker vibes in terms of how like confident he was. Because he was always smiling and putting fear in everybody's eyes, except for like Luffy's and Batman's. You know, I'm talking about the Joker with Batman. Like, Arlong, especially when I was like, because I was like 15 when I started reading One Piece. I was like, yeah, man. Arlong really does give me like, especially in the like darker scenes where he's like, putting fear into everybody else. He really reminds me of the scenes with the Joker, where Joker is just losing his, like, he's having the best time torturing and like, you know, laughing in like people's faces. Like that is the feeling I had with Arlong. It's not everybody. I've heard lots of people say it's a lot different. So
because everything is under control. Whereas the live action Arlong, from what we've seen, is pretty perpetually angry, or at the very least, very upset. So it turns Arlong into the exact opposite existence. In the manga, he is massive and joyful in his sickening way, but in the live action, he's skinny and angry. And it makes the deep voice sound like a joke to me, because it's like Arlong is compensating for something that he shouldn't have to. He doesn't compensate because in his mind, he is already the superior being. With all of that said, I do think it's important that we give Arlong the benefit of the doubt here. That benefit being that maybe the selection of scenes is particularly one note because that's just what the trailer needed. There wasn't any room to expand on his character in the 3 minutes that we have to sell the show. So we just need him to seem threatening and well, that's that. Which to us, or I guess to me, makes him feel worryingly generic. But general audiences understand the visual language of generic bad guy. So it might help sell the series to them. That could be the case. And having seen how well I think they've handled the rest of the characters so far, I'm looking forward to hopefully being wrong about Arlong. And I know people have also said, oh, what did you...
My only issue, like, now, I'm literally talking about the One Piece live action as a whole. I mean, as a whole entity of itself. I'm not talking about the individual problems or issues I personally have with it, or my, like, issues with live action. I'm talking about the One Piece as a whole. Most people is going to get into One Piece through the live action. And by the looks of it, they're going to rush a lot of the early stuff because Arlong Park is like, give or take, 20, maybe like 30-ish episodes, I think. I don't know how many chapters that is in the manga, but it could be about 20. Like 20, 25, I think is the sweet spot. Like, I'm talking about the whole of Arlong Park. So my only issue is that they're going to rush through a lot of the beginning stuff, like from the first episode all the way up until like after Arlong Park, because they're getting into the Grand Line at like episode 40, maybe 30 in the live action. From what I've heard, I could be very wrong, don't quote me on it. But that's my issue. They're going to rush through this early part because they have to. Luffy has to meet Zoro. I mean, that's only like an episode 2 in like the anime, so that's probably gonna be all in one episode. Then it's gonna be like meeting Nami. Then it's gonna be like did they meet Usopp first, or was it? They met Sanji first, right? Then Usopp. Then they met Usopp for like Nami, Usopp, Sanji. So was Sanji after Arlong Park? Fuck, I can't remember anymore. It's been so long. Yeah, it's obviously like they meet Sanji before Arlong Park because Sanji's in the trailer. So it's Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Arlong Park. And that's the issue. They're going to rush through it, and I don't know how I feel about it. Because people don't watch the anime because it's too long. They don't want to read the manga because it's too long. So the point is, people are going to get introduced into the live action from One Piece, and that's all they're going to watch, and that's going to cause lots of like confusion compared to like when people start actually talking about One Piece, and then it's going to be like, people are going to say this, and then people are going to say that because they didn't watch the anime, they didn't watch they didn't read the manga. So that's just going to cause lots of confusion in the One Piece community then. So it's my only issue.
You want them to do?
Main
Make
issue.
it massive?
Issue.
That's not realistic. And to that I would just say, from what we've seen of the images released through Shonen Jump, that's exactly what they did with Captain Morgan, because he looks colossal. So why not amp up Arlong as well? Or maybe give Arlong a slight bodysuit? I mean, the costume has him all covered up anyway. And I just, I don't know, man. Like, I keep lingering on this. I don't think it is a massive deal breaker thing, but I keep lingering on it because I think the rest of the trailer is so so damn solid. And I want this one thing to be different. Because if this is an accurate representation of Arlong, then I think he's going to be the weak point of the series, which is not great because he's the main antagonist. Something I didn't initially notice is that it looks like Arlong is in Buggy's circus tent in this shot. So, and pun warning, I guess the intent is to slowly build him up throughout the series, and maybe use Baratier as a narrative low point, sort of like how Luffy and Zoro were beaten by CP9 on Water 7 and Robin was abducted, and then everyone goes to Arlong Park to have the Any Slobby style payoff. I do genuinely like the idea of seeding Arlong earlier. I just need Arlong himself to actually work. But another concern I've noticed is with Nami and the idea that she feels a bit flat, a bit one note. Like a cheese board, but one filled exclusively with brie, which is not good enough. You need a hard cheese, a blue cheese, maybe a smoked cheese for a fully...
Just like regular cheese and the soft off-white cheese. I think it's called mozzarella cheese. I think. That's the cheese I like. The blue cheese, way too fucking smelly. My dad loves it, I hate it. He bought it once and I wanted to throw up. And my dad does not have a strong stomach. I mean, he like smacks a fly away or like kills a mosquito. And he goes, bleh, bleh. And he opens the blue cheese and he goes, oh, this smells lovely.
Rounded cheese board. But I think this is because the shots we've seen of Nami from the trailers and the promo images do show her in a very stoic and serious manner, which might not resonate with some people because Nami is one of the more emotionally volatile Straw Hats, whereas in the trailers so far she seems very much on the Zoro side of the emotional spectrum. And for this I would also have to give Nami the Arlong benefit of the doubt, because in fairness these trailers have been made to show off all of the big exciting events and all of the big gut-wrenching drama events, all of which demand a much more serious performance from Nami. And other than some fun Luffy moments, we haven't really touched on the more light-hearted aspect of One Piece. I mean, we haven't even heard Usopp speak yet. So I'm personally not worried about Nami right now.
I wonder how they're gonna do Sanji as a character, because Sanji is normally very pervy. Are they going to make him as pervy in the live action, or are they going to like tone it down a bit? Because Sanji's perviness, granted, it is kind of off-putting sometimes, but a lot of times it builds it actually adds to his character. So I wonder if they're gonna tone it down a bit, or they're just gonna keep it the same.
There's plenty of opportunity for a wider performance in the actual episodes. Now, the next common concern is what I've started calling Daddy Shanks, which I've named after one person commented that this screenshot looks like someone forcing their dad to cosplay at a convention. And like I said in the other video, I don't think it's fair to judge anything from just this. We need to hear him speak and we need to see some, some actual acting. Because you could say the same thing about a screenshot of any of the cast out of context. But a big legitimate concern now, Don Krieg was not in the trailer, and this has led many people to lament that he's been cut from the series. Because Arlong and the Fishmen are now Baratier, so what exactly is Krieg's role now? However, we do know that Don Krieg has been cast, and we've even seen his bounty poster. So it looks like he's definitely in the series, just not in this trailer. However, and this is a bit more of a concern, to the best of my knowledge, Geen has not been cast. And I suspect that he's one of the cut characters. That makes me slightly nervous because I think Geen is
It doesn't make me nervous, it makes me sad. He was one of the better characters in the Don Krieg arc, or mini arc, or whatever you want to fucking call it.
An unsung hero of Baratier. To me, he is integral to Sanji's story, and removing that element is huge. I mean, I guess they wouldn't be removing it. It's more like Geen's role would get incorporated into another character. Still, it's a shame, but I guess that's what needs to happen when you cram 100 chapters into 8 episodes. Although, the more I think about it, the more Baratier...
Like I said, they're rushing this, and I don't know how to feel about it.
In general, is starting to make me feel a little bit weird. The Arlong pirates are there, so this is probably our biggest nexus of change in the series, and it risks destroying that delicate balance. And it opens up questions like, why is Arlong there? Is he going to kidnap Nami now instead of having her betray the crew? Or is she still going to betray the crew? And if so, why does Arlong even need to be there? It seems like he's really micromanaging Nami at the moment, following her from Buggy to Baratier and then home to Arlong Park. I feel like if something does go wrong, like very wrong, Baratier is definitely the potential spot for that. Right now, to me, it just has the most potential for being compromised. Also not cast to the best of my knowledge is Heart-chan, who I think would also be very sad to lose and would even cause a bunch of headaches down the road in the best case scenario where the show is incredibly successful. Also, Johnny and Yosaku have no
That is a very good point. Because I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I think is it after the time skip or that's before the time skip? I think. Um, one of Luffy's best moments of all of One Piece happens with Hachi, and if you cut him, then what are you going to do? Like you could,
Casting, but I'm pretty okay with that. I think their roles are much more easily replaced. Come to think of it, what do they even do? I think their main job is telling the crew that Nami went to Arlong Park, which I guess they'd already know if Arlong was on Baratier, and also they give Zoro his swords at Arlong Park. But to do what? If Hachan isn't in the series, then Zoro has no up to Arlong Park, which I guess they'd already know. Even I'm pretty okay.
If you guys cut them out of the out of the picture, we're going to lose one of the funniest moments in One Piece as well, especially in the early days of One Piece. Don't know if you guys remember the panel, but like I literally saw it just the other day, like someone talking about it. I think it was like he was in the background, like explaining stuff to like Robin, not Robin, Nami, and or was it Usopp? It was either Nami and Zoro with this dude, and this dude was like passed out, and Usopp was like holding him up while no, was it later on? Fuck, I can't remember now. But it was because of these two, if I remember correctly.
Okay with that, I think their roles are much more easily replaced. Come to think of it, what do they even do? I think their main job is telling the crew that Nami went to Arlong Park, which I guess they'd already know if Arlong was on Baratier, and also they give Zoro his swords at Arlong Park. But to do what? If Hachan isn't in the series, then Zoro has no opponent to even need those swords. Now I should say that Oda himself has actually addressed the missing characters in the message that was released alongside the trailer, and he says the following. After the launch, I'm sure I'll hear some people pointing out how this character is missing, or this scene is omitted, or this is different from the manga, but I'm sure they'll come from a place of love. Eiichiro Oda, I think, vastly underestimating the vitriol of social media there, but this part of the message is preparing us for big changes. And I would also be remiss if I didn't quote this part of the message as well. By now, I just love this production team and the cast so much that I can't wait for them to get the acclaim they deserve from around the world. And if by chance people have some gripes, I'll be there to receive them together, which is a really nice thing for Oda to say. He is showing 100% solidarity behind the show. Basically, if you got a problem with them, then you got a problem with me. And as a One Piece fan, I have to admit that's pretty comforting, because there's nothing more you could really ask for than for the author to be this invested in the adaptation, and also to actually have power over the work. It's been mentioned a lot, but Oda has said in the past that both he and the production team have had some quite frustrating times with the show, and Oda even started to question whether or not it was possible to work at all. But after all of that, he says that they got through it. Also, Netflix didn't even pick a launch date until Oda was satisfied with it. And I have to dwell on that because it's just so rare for a big production to give any shits whatsoever about the author's feelings, let alone give the author final approval for the show. Now compare that to, say, the Netflix live action Avatar, where the creators made the choice to leave the show very early on, or compared to what Tomorrow Studios did with Cowboy Bebop by having Shinichiro Watanabe as a consultant, with Watanabe later claiming that any comments he made were almost certainly ignored and that he couldn't even make it past the opening scene of Cowboy Bebop. So it's no small thing that Oda is, to be honest, really acting as the media backbone of this show. But with all of that said, I do think that we as a fan base need to stop deifying Oda as much as we do. Because yes, he's quite literally the 10th most best-selling author in human history, just 9 places away from that there Shakespeare. But even with that in mind, Oda is still just a dude. And over the years,
how much? Hold on.
Shakespeare. But even with that in mind, Oda is
516.5 million. Fuck me. What the fuck? J.K. Rowling, obviously. Damn, man. That's impressive.
Still just a dude. And over the years, I've gotten more and more skeptical about his messages, because somewhere along the line, Shueisha realized how seriously we took his word. And so now, every time there's a new product to be promoted, they get Oda to write one of these messages. And in particular, he did quite a few of these for Film Red. And he made it sound like the greatest piece of cinema that had ever been crafted. And then when it actually comes out, Film Red, it was okay. Which is my greatest fear for live action One Piece, that it'll come out and it'll be like a 6 out of 10. Because if it
Honestly, I thought Film Red was actually well done. It was one of the better One Piece movies. For me, even though it's not canon, Stampede was very good. Film Gold was also very good. But in terms of how I'm ranking them, in terms of like enjoyability to watch, I'm not talking about like story wise or like, I'm just talking about enjoyability. It's Stampede first, Film Red, because of Uta's singing. My god, was it good? Film Gold, and the rest.
If it's a 9 or even a perfect 10, then we as a fan base, we come together to celebrate. And on the other hand, if it's completely terrible, then we as a fan base come together to laugh like we do with the 4Kids dub. But if it's just okay, then it doesn't meet the high expectations that I think have been directly set by Oda himself, and it's not worth circle jerking, but it also isn't terrible enough to be outrage farmed. It's just meh, and so it gets forgotten. And one more thing about Oda though, when it comes to these projects, what is he meant to say? Remember that he's hardly an objective source. His financial interests are directly tied to these projects, and in fact, he might be contractually obliged to only say positive things about One Piece in general. And if he did have any mid to negative comments, then I imagine they probably wouldn't publish them. So I don't know, in conclusion, yes, his words and his involvement are comforting, but also at the end of the day, this is just marketing material. And speaking of, let's address some more negative feedback, but this time directed to me. So you wouldn't believe it from this video, but I was actually very, very positive in the last video. And as a result, multiple people in the comments accused me of being paid by Netflix to say nice things about the trailer, which I wish. To be clear, I have zero affiliation with this show whatsoever. I've spoken to Matt Owens, the co-showrunner, a handful of times on Discord, but that's it. And I say this because I guess we should point out that some other One Piece YouTubers are more heavily connected to the show. They are much more connected with the production staff and have even been behind the scenes. And interestingly enough, those YouTubers are also members of the Actors and Writers Guild that are currently on strike at the moment, which means that they're actually forbidden from discussing anything live action One Piece related. But long story less long, for better or worse, my opinions are purely mine, and that's how they're going to stay. And right now, I'm genuinely excited for the show, with the caveat that I really hope that Arlong has been completely misrepresented in the trailer. Alright, the full
Fuck. Honestly, I'm still going to be expecting a 3, maybe a 4 out of 10 when I'm good. Like, I'll watch the first episode. I'll give it the benefit of a doubt. I'll watch the first 3 episodes. But if I still feel like I'm forcing myself to watch this, I'm just not gonna watch it. Like, there's better things to watch. There's better things to do. I can go outside and touch some grass. There's just better things to do than force myself to watch something I don't want to. So yes, I'll watch the first 3 episodes. If I can get through those without feeling, yeah man, this isn't it, I'll watch the rest until I get to the point where I'm like, yeah, okay, no, I think this is a good stopping point, let's end here. Let me know what you guys think, and I hope you guys enjoyed.